Welcome back to A Baz Does Football Meltdowns. It's been a while in Scottish football since we've had a Kenny Miller meltdown. If you remember back to last season in Scottish football, Kenny Miller had a meltdown pretty regular on various shows that he was on. And he went away to work in Saudi Arabia. And we thought we'd seen the last of Kenny, but he's back. Is Kenny Miller? Yes, Kenny Miller is back. So on Baz Does Meltdowns, we had to review and we had to react to the Kenny Miller of new, or is it?
Grounds and all that, Celtic Rangers, and that must be difficult as well if you're in leadership at a club to go, we can't let that continue. Yeah. We can't have people throwing barriers and abusing the players outside the stadium and all that sort of stuff. Because where does that? That's just going to escalate and escalate. If the results keep getting worse,
it's just going to get worse. Last Sunday.
That's what I mean.
We've seen it with Tav last Sunday.
How do you deal with that? Yeah. But the answer is no. We'll sack the manager and we'll have another manager in. Do you know what I mean? But it's wild.
Come on,
just
get to Kenny Miller.
What do you think of the current situation with Rangers at the moment? We're both Rangers fans, so it's obviously...
It's about to ruin my Sunday. Listen, it's no... I don't think the team... the club's actually, I don't think it's in a great...
Wait a minute. Hold on.
There's been a lot of...
Kenny Miller's taken this... Wow. Where's his teeth?
It's not been a great start to the season. Obviously, the last game is the worst time you can get that Old Firm. You've got this international. If you lose that game, you've got this 2 weeks. There's 2 weeks of, by the way, chat that people need to fill, and they're all going to be doing is been talking about that last result. And unfortunately for Rangers at the moment, like Celtic are moving away. Like that's my genuine opinion, and it's no. It hurts me to say it, but I just think. I think you see when you look at that last couple of days of the transfer window as well, Celtic just flexed their muscles. They went right there. You go, 11 million, and they'd signed 6 million on the lad Trusty, I think, as well in the last few days. And then they're on the bench for the game, and they're coming on in the game, but they're already winning 3-0. And by it's fair, it could have been more.
Definitely.
So I think they flexed their muscles at that moment, and unfortunately, like I say, you're talking about leadership for top down. I just think there's been mistakes made. Whether it be people in certain positions who are important positions, and then it leads to more bad decisions because they're maybe no good at what or the right person for that role. And then again, recruitment's massive. Again, it's been talked about probably for the last 2-3 seasons at Rangers now. Like no getting the recruitment right. Listen, it's not to say it's no going to come good, but it needs to be good now.
I was waiting on him saying it. I'm sure the Celtic fans that will be watching this are waiting on him, Kenny Miller, to say the Rangers are coming, but they're not. But it's not the biggest meltdown that we've seen Kenny Miller take. He's quite calm and measured. It must be because he's working with Ronnie Dyler, the Celtic manager. Yes, Kenny is the number 2 to the ex-Celtic manager Ronnie Dyler, if you didn't know. Bizarre situation in Saudi, but he's here. He's toothless. He's toothless, and he's sitting talking to a couple of Rangers fans on the Monday Club podcast. The Monday Club podcast.
I think when Michael done his recruitment last summer, it didn't look great. He obviously then loses his job, and now Philippe's came in, and the recruitment's been done again, and you're like it was clear to everybody, I think, that Rangers needed at least 4, 5, 6, maybe even starting footballers. No projects and no squad players and no guys. You might come. No. We need to hit the ground running now. We need guys in this team that are going to be able to deliver. We've got Celtic in 4 games, fourth game of the season. We've got Champions League qualifiers. We're not playing at our stadium. You're like, there's a lot
against them.
There's no lot that's went right over this first few months of the season. So it's when you're 5 points back after 4 games, you're like,
He looks so. You're just waiting on him saying the whole disappointed word, aren't you? You're waiting on a wee Tavernier disappointed.
It's just not a good look, and it's 4 games in. Nothing's won in August or September.
Exactly.
But you're 4 games in, and you're 5 points back. It looks a long way back already. Because let's be honest, if you were thinking, right, I don't even know what the next fixtures are, but if looking at a Rangers and a Celtic fixture, you're probably more likely to think Rangers are going to drop points than what Celtic are. So. Listen, that's the beauty of being in part of the one of the big 2 in Glasgow. You have to turn it. There's only one way. The only one thing you can do. You've got to go to work. You've got to get together. You've got to improve. Again, everything needs to improve. and then you need to start clawing this back again. But it just seems that's what you're always talking about. Even this early stage, every season, like last season, what was it, 7 points back or so on your early doors? And you're just, Rangers are just having to play catch up a lot. But listen, sometimes you need to actually just roll the sleeves up, get on with it, and actually start improving. And I think that's where the fans are probably see it a bit frustrated at the moment. And again, I'm watching it from afar at the moment, but it just looks like I hate the gap. This term, the gap.
It's a gap. It's a massive gap.
But that for me, it's about right. Okay, Celtic look like they're moving in a certain direction,
and Rangers are moving in the other direction. So if it's not a gap, what then is it? Is it a trench?
And we are just get Rangers are just kind of
no progression,
no really moving forward, you know. And whether it be off the field stuff or whether it be recruitment in the team, again, improvements as each year goes. It's kind of stalled a wee bit, whereas Celtic look like they're moving in one direction. So listen, it's going to be a
gap.
I always thought it would be a tough few months, to be honest with you, for Rangers, because they're not playing at their stadium and they've got a lot of big games
and the gap.
First Old Firm games away from home, and then when you drop points in the opening day of the season as well, the momentum just shifts. So like I just said earlier, somebody's always getting it in Glasgow.
Yeah.
You know, you're either
Hi. Somebody's always getting it. Oh my! I don't even want to reply to that comment.
the Blues getting it or Green's getting it.
No, that's not the case. That's not the case, Kenny Miller. You know that. You know at your time when you played for Celtic, Celtic were becoming the dominant force, and then you jumped ship and then went back to Ibrox. And what did you win at that time? Not very much, did you? But it's such a shame. You've got to feel for Kenny. He seems to be losing his mind, losing his teeth, and let's just hope he doesn't lose his job with Ronnie Dyler.
And when you drop points at first, you've just opened that door, and you're the one that are going to be getting it until you can maybe turn it.
Aye.
You know, and it's actually probably it's went the other way, isn't it? Because the gap's this 5 points.
I thought it was a gap. He said he wasn't going to mention the word gap, and he's just done it.
Now, so aye, but off the field stuff or whether it be recruitment in the team, again, improvements as each year goes. It's kind of stalled a wee bit, whereas Celtic look like they're moving in one direction. So listen, it's going to be I always thought it would be a tough few months, to be honest with you, for Rangers, because they're not playing at their stadium, the transfer window to show. But I never thought I'd see Rangers or Celtic spend like 11 million
that went on.
Yeah, I know.
I think Hudson Edward was was one of was the highest before that. But I just thought they're not going to spend Rangers, Celtic, no. And then you've got to go and spend it. And
They're bringing the money in though, that's the thing, isn't it?
It's a player model, isn't it? It's the
this is
it's
quality.
all right saying we know the player model doesn't work, but you've got to have a solution to that.
You've got to remember, this is Kenny Miller being interviewed by 2 Rangers fans.
Got to bring in players. I think when we had Bassey and Patterson and we sold them, people thought, that's what it's done. But you've got to continually bring in players and try and make it. Like Celtic have done it well for like the last 5, 6, 7
Aye, finding the
years.
gems and moving them on.
And they can.
This is a bit like listening to the Reverend I Am Jolly. And if you don't know who Reverend I Am Jolly is, and it's the first time that you've come across this video, go on YouTube, Reverend I Am Jolly. Because these guys are sitting in the chair in a darkened room, a bit like the Reverend I Am Jolly.
And go and spend that 11 million, and it's not as much of a risk because they've banked the money already. Whereas I think if we were to go and spend that on a player and it didn't work, we would be in dire straits. Like, I was wanting to get your view on the Tavernier thing, because obviously you played with him, you know him as a player, but do you think it's, I don't want to say justified, because I don't buy the kind of, he's been terrible, he's not been terrible, he's just having a tough time, but for the player point of view, how hard is it in that position to climb out of it? Or does it come a point where you're just like, I can't be doing this anymore?
No, not for me, because I was always kind of split fans, you know, but I wanted to be there, you know. I wanted to be at that club, I wanted to win, I wanted to work, I wonder
if he said that when he was at Celtic.
And I always believed the work or the work ethic and what you're given would turn people, and I think probably for the most part it did. There'll be some that never ever accept you because you played on the other side, but for Tav, like, unfortunately for Tav, and again I've lived this, there's always players that are the ones that are the first ones to get it, whether they're playing good or bad. You know, so like I've never seen it, but I've heard about what went on last week. Like, guys waiting there to speak to Tav.
Aye, and none of the players backs him up.
What about the other 20 that I've just walked out?
You got it, Kenny Miller and one. None of his teammates backed him up.
Right in front of you, and you're not giving them any stick.
And none of his teammates turn around and says, "How you shut it?" That's capped.
You know, like this is a guy who, by the time's a really good player. Like, I think it's no justified.
Of course he is. He's in the Hall of Fame.
Like the level. By the way, everybody deserves their. Listen, if you're not playing well, then you can be told you're not playing well. But that's part and parcel of football. That's okay. But when it's every single thing that happens on that field, it's always him that gets it in the neck. And listen, unfortunately for him, he's the captain.
Yeah, you got to take it.
He leads the team. He's the one. And by the way, he's big enough and old enough and ugly enough to take it. You know, he'll take that and he'll still. But when you look over his career at Rangers, he's the one that drags that team back into game. Look,
He's the one that drags them back into games. He's the serial loser, isn't he?
last season, 3 Old Firm games, you're 2-0 down. By the way, this is the guy that's dragging you back into these games. Even with 10 men, he'll go and put a free kick in the top corner to drag, and the whole momentum of the thing shifts.
Yeah, scores a goal in the cup final.
He scores the goal in the cup final, which again, it's the first time the club have won that cup in a long time as well. You know, and let's go back 2 seasons.
Did he just say that? It's the first time that they've won that in a long, long time. That was the League Cup. Yes, remember the League Cup last season. As a new club, it's probably the first time they've ever won it, I think.
He's the top scorer in the Europa League.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's not about goals. But he's a good player. But what he is when the big moments are required, he's normally the one that pops up with that.
No, never
Just
mind.
Incredible. So, listen, you take the good with the bad.
Yes, you do.
Davy Weir.
Oh my
You know,
goodness.
when I was working in that side of the media side, like that's why people, I know you're just saying that because it's your mates. And no, I'm not saying that's because it's my mates. I'm saying it because I know exactly what's going to be lost. Giving Griggsy another year, or Ryan Jack another year, or Stevie Davis, or Scotty Arfield, all these guys that have now left the building. These are strong characters and big players that are, again, like, I think he's Scotty Arfield, for instance, like, never played all the time.
Oh, you've got to say, this Kenny Miller's changed, hasn't he? He's mellowed out. He's not losing the rag. He seems to have came to the conclusion that Celtic are going to run over and win everything in Scottish football, whilst his old team has... which one's his old team? Because he played for Celtic and Rangers. Yeah, we all know the one that he supports, isn't it, really? Make sure you subscribe to the channel and I'll see you on the next one.